Bam!
300.
Yes.
Happy 300.
Happy 300.
Happy 300.
Yes.
I'm taking in my hat. Look at all these bald guys here.
Oh my God.
Wow.
All the famous people here.
I know.
What's up?
Yes. Wow. 300. It's like that movie, right? You know? Tonight
Anthony,
we'll dine in the shade.
Where
Yes.
the hell did you come from, man?
Woohoo!
Welcome. Hey, so welcome everyone to the 300th episode of IoT Coffee Talk. And
Awesome.
incredibly, for all 300 episodes, we have kept the production to a Wayne's World level, right, Rob?
It is a Wayne's World level.
Yes. Yes. With a sports center.
Yeah.
Da-da-dun, da-da-dun.
You can vibe on tech
Absolutely.
and IoT and all things. Yeah.
Right. You know, it's like game day for.
Oh my gosh. Look at this.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
Look at this. It's like the friggin' Brady Bunch. It's crazy.
Look at this lineup. It's like straight out of prison.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I feel like we do look a little bit more like 80s Seattle, like Rob does. I mean, I'm feeling a lack of Nirvana in my life right now.
Oh, jeez.
You
I don't know
know?
if I can handle this. This is going to be crazy. So, yeah, remember, everyone, we're just here to have fun. So if you take us seriously, you have a real big problem.
Yes.
Really big problem. And so we highly recommend that you don't take us seriously. And if you do, take out insurance,
Yeah.
and it's all your fault. And
There you go.
if you don't know how to have fun, well, this is the wrong show for you.
This is all about
I
fun.
can't help you with that.
This is all about fun with the smartest people on the planet. We are
And
going to
David.
drop some gems you
Yeah.
know, of tech knowledge. Lots of stuff is
Drop
going on
something.
out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, something.
Something.
Yes.
Something is going on.
Opinions for sure.
Opinions.
Right? Strong
Yeah.
opinions.
Strong opinion. But that's what people want. You know, none of this milk toast, wishy-washy, you know, I'm just going to regurgitate this survey for unqualified people that
Uncensored
I...
truth.
Yeah,
Uncensored
exactly.
Truth.
Yeah.
So at the same time, take us seriously, but don't take us seriously. Don't make stock picks based on anything we say, you know.
Like the
So
one
now
that
you got
Rob's going
everyone
to give
confused.
right now.
No, I'm not going to do there. Yeah. Right now, you should be running for the hills.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's getting ugly out there. Really ugly. It's
Is it
so
really?
good to see. It is. It is.
Yeah.
You know, people are afraid of AI now. All of a sudden, they're reading that viral post.
Ugh.
They're all that stuff's going around, and
puke if we talk about that.
there's all that talk about AI wiping out all the software companies. You know, as soon as Claude added in some add-on plugin that wiped out like 3 or 4 different major companies.
Gonna wipe out the bad coders.
There you go. It's going to
Yeah.
wipe out the bad quote. So there's that. If you've been watching the stock market like I do, everything's collapsing. But also, there was a new thing, CBRE, not that you know that. You know, there's real estate investment trust companies.
Oh,
They
man.
started to collapse yesterday because, wait for it, well,
Data center count.
well, it's weird. Commercial real estate has already been suffering because of people working from home, right? And so they're not downtown and skyscrapers anymore. And
Yeah.
so vacancy rates are over 20%. But then all of a sudden, people are like started putting dots together and saying, well, wait a second, if AI is going to wipe out all the white collar professional workers that normally work in a skyscraper, then they're going to become even more empty. And so all the downtowns of every city in the world are going to be empty shells. And so all those real estate companies just started collapsing in commercial real estate. So there's lots of love, a lot of positivity.
But you know what, Rob? But there's going to be a lot of folks that are going to fight that battle, right? You have a lot of powerful, influential people
Yeah.
coming from the data center AI side, which
Yes.
is new money, and then
Yes.
you have the old money of physical buildings, right?
Right.
And all the real estate investment trust folks that we know about, and they're not going to go down without a fight. We all have our opinion regarding, whether the return to the office is something to really bond and create company culture, or just because, dude, I got a lease, it's really expensive, I need butts and seats. And it's not going to go down easy. While I'm not in Portland, Oregon anymore, I still follow my local news.
Yeah.
And the value of real estate in Portland, I mean, it's nowhere like it was. Let's just go pre-COVID. So it's like, what else? So we've had COVID. Okay, people work from home. Then we have all sorts of protest, real and some imaginary. There's some of that. Now we have this. No one's going to the office. We just want to build data centers. And you can have really good deals on commercial real estate in Portland, Oregon today. But don't make any financial moves.
Because what's going to happen? The buildings don't go away. They're still there. Even if they get emptied out and even if the value of them goes to $1, someone will sweep in future years and pick up all that stuff.
Indoor pickleball courts.
Indoor pickleball courts, yeah.
No, but actually, but also jokes. Remember, jokes aside, these buildings all over our beautiful cities have a tax burden to the localities, the municipalities. So we actually do want these buildings to thrive, so that they can pay their fair share, and we can cover potholes and deliver simple services. So let's it's got to come from somewhere.
But David, what did you think about my idea? Remember, I wanted to build like the V1, the MVP of the Matrix, like the primitive version of the Matrix. Because with all these people being displaced because of AI, I know you all are thinking, what are we going to do with all the bodies? What are we going to do with all these? What are we going to do with all these extra people?
You're going to convert all these facilities into gyms, and we're going to have.
No, we're going to pause.
Is it really a gym, Leonard? Is it really a gym? Where's the energy from that treadmill going? Is it
going straight to the data center?
Has the AI already built it? Are we in it now?
If you want to earn your day's worth of credits to get fed, you will keep pedaling inside your pod. And that's how it's going to work. So I think all that extra space, we're just going to fill and full of pods, and it's going to be the MVP of the Matrix. So I'm really super excited about all this, guys. Anthony, what's going on with you, man? Yeah. It's been forever.
Yeah, it's been a while since I got a haircut, but I think the last time I saw you guys, it was probably at least over a year ago. But it's been great hearing conversations. We all panicked about the Y2K bug that we thought life might end. So seeing that we made it through the metaverse and through Clubhouse and some other fads that have come and gone, it's great to see people who really are grounded in business and technology. We can make it through just about anything. So I'm not worried about the AI. Now, I do think AI is going to be here much longer than some of the other fads. But there's just a lot of AI chaos and delusion and uncertainty going on right now. And it'll settle down. AI is really in the elementary phase of learning. It's very rudimentary right now. And there's a lot learning of, hey, it's not like buying paper towels off the shelf. AI is all different. And everybody's wondering, where's my information going? Where is it being stored? Who's seeing it? What security risks and vulnerabilities am I being exposed to? So
I disagree.
A lot of unknowns.
I disagree. I think our age group is asking those questions. Anyone younger is just straight up accept. I'll take the paper towel, 1-ply, 3-ply. I don't care. Take what's on the shelf.
There you go.
Questions asked.
And you're right. They're collecting a lot more than we'd ever anticipate. Like, what's this with the lady, the ABC anchor or whatever her mother got kidnapped or something.
Guthrie.
Yeah, and then I think they identified the perpetrator with through Google archives or something. I don't know. Debbie, you probably know the story a hell of a lot better.
Cameras.
But people were shocked that footage was even there.
I was shocked.
Right.
What sort of consent was provided, and I had some executives state to me that the privacy rights in the U.S. are the benchmark of the world.
Oh no.
When?
Oh no.
Oh no. I mean, there are people who believe that. There are people who believe that. Debbie, that's a cue for you to set the record straight.
No, man.
We've lost Leonard. We've lost him. On episode 300, the man lost his damn mind.
He did. Yeah.
No. You can't be the forerunner if you haven't actually done any regulation. So yeah. No. It's very, very, very scarce up in here. Mostly the States, and it's kind of a patchwork. But really Europe is leading on regulation sides. But, that issue brought up, it is a big issue to think about. So, and this is something I tell people all the time. Okay. So the issue is that apparently this woman, she had a Ring doorbell camera, and she had not subscribed to the feature where it saved the video. But somehow Google was able to, I guess because she's the mother of a famous person, was able to get this video that wasn't supposed to be saved, basically. And so people are like, well, how did that happen? Like, how did this video that, you didn't subscribe to the service, and then they had it? And so a couple of things I tell people, like data systems are made to retain data, is made to remember things, not to forget it. So the forgetting happens later. So I guess the thing hadn't forgotten it yet. But it remains to be seen whether that's something that would have happened, if that company would have done that if it was not for a famous person. I don't know.
I was really surprised. I thought that if you weren't paying for a subscription, the camera would never stream the video to the cloud in the first place.
No.
But apparently it was streaming the whole time, even though she wasn't paying for a subscription.
And maybe you just can't access it, but it's obviously doing it, right? Which is where, Pete, you need to come in on Edge AI, right? This is the whole thing that's going to try and fix this problem, right?
Well, I mean, it's used as training data. And I think the question of whether or not the US is the benchmark depends on who you're talking to. Because I think if you're talking to people trying to train models, the US is the benchmark, because you can access such a vast swathe of information to train models on. Whereas in Europe, GDPR, etc., there's a lot more. Obviously, there's a lot more. And Debbie, you know far more about this than I do. I mean, there's so much more lockdown and more control for the individual around how their data is used. It's if you're trying to train a model, particularly a model that does facial recognition or attitude assessment or sentiment analysis, you need the data, and you come to the US to get it.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what kind of data, right? Yeah. Everyone, that's the problem. People generalize AI, or people generalize data. They ignore
the issue there, Leonard, is that there's no data model in the neural network. And that makes it very unclear what is what, because you cannot point at the data in a neural network. So this is one example that I asked Google Veo, the Veo 3 really cool videos, to do something with me and Johan. And then it basically said, no, we cannot do that, because we probably it won't work for you as well, Leonard. Yeah, you're with your face too. You've been a few times on YouTube. And then it says, no, I cannot do that. They marked us already as public figures. But then the question is, you already implemented something to recognize my face as a public figure without my consent. So we're already past the point where this is really a mindfuck, because you already I mean, I had the same thing in Dubai at the airport. We just scan your face, then we use it for biometric use. No, you already scanned my face. This is a vanity check. It's
a consent. I think you're right. It's a consent problem, right? So the fact that it was doing it without the consent is the main issue. Regardless of training the models, obviously that's important. But if you don't have explicit consent, then there's a grave issue there, right?
Yeah. You cannot consent in a neural network, because the neural network doesn't. The thing doesn't know.
You can't.
It doesn't know. You cannot point to like here's a database with a table of user, and that's the crazy thing. Yeah.
So you're bringing up something I brought up 2.5 years ago.
Oh, of course. Yeah, you already brought it up. Yeah.
Oh yeah, dude. I'm way ahead of the curve, dude.
But
No. You're bringing up something really important because you know what? Vector databases, these models, you cannot security trim them. This is the biggest issue, and this is why you didn't see RAG take off like everyone was saying that it could. And something I observed a long time ago, talking to developers and AI researchers, as well as folks that are trying to build enterprise applications with this stuff. Folks from Microsoft, actually, and Apple. And they were saying this stuff is not going to fly. So now you see all these jokers on CNBC talking about how Apple's behind and they're disappointed by Apple's, backtracking on their commitments to Siri. They do know how hard this is and how impossible it is to make some of these architectures secure. So people are learning slowly. And yes, I did write about this 2.5 years ago.
Okay, so, Apple fanboy.
Have the receipts.
Hey, everybody's having a challenge, whether it's Lenovo, it's Samsung. They're all having, dude, look at the goofy architectures that are coming up for, personal edge AI.
This example, right, where they turn on AI on your Microsoft stack, and the first thing that employees do is they ask the AI what their colleagues' salary is, and it directly gives them an answer. Like this is exactly what you're saying. It's like you cannot like I think
you can't.
What's the data that's even more unstructured than neural networks are SharePoints, Microsoft SharePoints. But that also gives a lot of governance issues. Yeah.
And then imagine them hallucinating on you and then misrepresenting you. I mean, this is Debbie. We talked about this a long time
5 years ago, probably.
No, 8 years ago.
8 years ago.
No, we the metaverse episode that we did.
Yeah.
Just listen back on that. Now that right, Mark?
Yeah.
Yep.
That's an uncanny episode, right? We talk about models don't forget.
That's right.
They don't forget.
They don't forget.
200 episodes ago, yeah.
Yeah, something like that. When we were children doing this show, yeah. By the way,
don't forget, it's Big Brother, the industrial metaverse.
Industrial metaverse.
Industrial metaverse.
That means that there's like an MES, or SCADA or something like that. Is that what that means? Yeah. So also, speaking of industrial stuff, we need to say a big congratulations to Alistair on his new gig. With
Momenta.
Yeah.
Hey, wow.
Thank you. I became a VC event finally. It happened.
It finally happened. Wow.
I know most of you I think know Ken. I know Ken. I was the first LP in their first industrial fund. They did a great job for Semtech, seeding, doing lots of seed investments in the LoRaWAN ecosystem, as Wienke knows. We all work with a lot of VCs. I'm not going to say anything bad about VCs, but there are some VCs that are on the side of the industry and kind of driving from that position of understanding what the hell the end customer is trying to do. And there are some VCs who live in spreadsheets and they're looking for a 3-year turnaround and a return. And it's relatively easy to raise funding these days. I say relatively easy, having been through the pain in the last year. There's money out there. I think increasingly for startups, it's very important to choose who they take the money from and what comes with the money. And that can be both a positive, they give me contacts, they give me direct, they help me out with blah, blah, blah. And it can be negative, they're breathing down my neck all the time and forcing me to make short-term decisions that are not in the interest of the business. And Ken's obviously in that first category. So what I'll be doing, I'm not going to be doing lots of VC investing stuff. Mostly I'm working with some companies in the portfolio. Actually, the majority of the ones I'm working with at the moment, we invested in through the Semtech fund. to help them figure out, it's the age-old problem. They figured out a technical solution to a tricky problem, but how do I get to market, and how do I end up with users using this, this innovation? That turns out to be the hardest thing always. And I think it's going to become increasingly the only hard thing when all the tools that we see AI creating in the code development space start to make the process of figuring out a technical solution to a hard problem a lot easier. I think the problem that will remain is, great, how do I cut through all the noise and get people to buy it? So thank you. I'm really excited. I like Ken a lot. I've known him for years and years.
That's great.
Congratulations, dude.
That's awesome.
You have a big competitor, right? Momenta. It's called IoT Coffee Talk, bro.
Oh, yeah. Nobody saw that coming. Wow.
Because we have the best fund in IoT. We have 33% annualized returns. We have made thousands of investments in all the hot startups. And it's thanks to our advisory and strategic magicry delivery that we are winning. So and Ken, watch out.
If I come up with a competitor idea to Thomas Domke's launch this week of Entire, and I know Thomas Domke from the days of Hockey App when I worked with Sam Guckenheimer to bring them into Microsoft. When I come up with a proposal for a competitor, you guys are all going to cut me a $60 million check on a $300 million valuation in the seed round.
Whoa.
Excellent. So who should I send my address to?
Yeah, as most people here know, we have returned literally tens of dollars to our LPs. Our LPs are so happy with us. The IoT Coffee Talk Fund. It's interesting. You kind of said tools. So as a lot of I'm good friends with my coding partner Claude, and been building a lot of crazy stuff. But I really had to try out the new GPT 5.3 codex because I was hearing a lot of positive stuff with it. And I have to say, I'm super impressed. I was like, I came up with this crazy idea to create an enterprise brain that has all the knowledge since the beginning of the company and knows everything. You could ask it any question. Anyway, super intelligence. I want to build it. Instead of just being an analyst and saying, here's my new Futurescape thing about this thing's coming, I'm like, I'm going to build the thing. So I started building it using this GPT 5.3 codex. And so far, I'm super impressed. I mean, it's cranking out architecture diagrams. It's like, okay, this thing is built here. It's going to be this platform. The bottom layer is going to be this data layer. Every kind of data from any type, any document, anything, any database table, you name it, IoT, real world video.
By the way, Rob, I think corporate superintelligence is an oxymoron. So.
Yeah. And then you got the AI layer, so making it simple to download pre-trained open source LLMs, SLMs, that kind of thing. And that layer there
on that PC back there.
It does. Yeah. That's a 5150 back there. Yeah, absolutely. That's as good as, and it still boots up DOS. It runs like a champ, actually. Yeah. They don't make them like they used to.
Is this Rob, Tiffany, or is the Big Lebowski?
It's the Big Lebowski. It's the Big Lebowski. You're right.
It's the white Russian on the corner.
I was going to say that glass of milk he's drinking.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's it. Anyway, I'm really impressed.
Computer back there.
I agree with you on 5.3. I mean, you know more than anyone else. Don't give me any task that involves writing code because I'm utterly shit at it. I use Claude Code to write an application. Actually, a series of applications that takes a 2D hand-drawn sketch of a product and turns it into a 3DM and an STL file. And I did that with Claude Code, and it worked. Okay, I'm now going through the process of redoing that with 5.3, and it's the number of steps that you have to go through is massively concatenated. It gives you I would say quasi user feedback on what the experience is like using that. I mean, I started that yesterday, and it's like, holy crap, it's quite something. And I think the thing, in the developments like Entire, I don't know how many of you saw that announcement. I think that is one of the early, and it's going to be a team that comes from Microsoft DevDiv. That's where Thomas comes from, and GitHub, where he was CEO. That type of tool that is designed to help developers use AI in a enterprise grade way to be able to track the prompts and assumptions and the process through which the AI generated the code, I think that is the first of what will be a series of tools, because the development paradigm with AI is utterly different. I mean, a developer is no longer, going through writing 500 lines of code and then going back through and debugging, and all of that stuff's gone. I mean, that's just gone. You're much more sitting in a cockpit, defining what you want the outcome to be, looking at suggestions for structure and flow and selecting which one. I mean, that's just a different mindset, and I think a different toolkit.
Yeah, it's a different flow. Yeah. But hey, I gotta jam, and I wanted to give a shout out to all you guys. Love you guys. I can't believe we've been doing this for 6 years. And something I want to say to our audience, Rob loves to make fun about how prescient we are and how much foresight we have. We do. And that proof is 6 years of IoT Coffee Talk. Just listen back on episodes. And as much as Rob makes fun of that, it's friggin' true. Listen. And we have 300 episodes that you can reflect back on, because part of knowing tech is knowing the genealogy and the paths to how we got to where we are today. And there's too many people who don't know and have the wrong perspective. That's why we're suffering all this AI nonsense narratives today that are forcing commercial properties to drop their rents and reduce the amount of taxes that cities can collect. And we need those, right? You got to pay for all this good stuff somehow. But anyways, love you guys, and have fun.
All right. Go do your much more important thing.
Yes.
Go ahead. Just go. Yeah.
Take care. See you guys in Barcelona. Everybody's there. Will you be there, Alistair?
No, I'm not this year, sadly. I'll be in Barcelona later in the year. I'll let you know when I'm in Europe next. But no,
Nuremberg. See you in Nuremberg.
Nuremberg, yeah.
See you in Nuremberg.
Maybe Nuremberg.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Take
care.
Take care. Good seeing you, man. Yeah. So Alistair, you get to work with my buddy Hans.
Yeah. I actually have a call with him later on this morning.
Yeah, I love that guy. He was on an advisory board for a startup I did a long time ago. He's a great guy. Yeah. And so
yes.
I guess you guys are doing some.
He's chairing a panel at our San Diego event at the end of March.
Oh, that's great.
Edge AI startup panels with Hans as the moderator, which is perfect.
Cool.
Mabeen kind of is on the team as well. I know him. It's kind of Bill Pugh, and I know him. Mike Dalbeck. It's a kind of good. It's a good group of folks. It's nice.
That's awesome. Yeah. Speaking of Edge AI conference coming up in San Diego. I did watch that great video that you created.
Thank you.
Why didn't you use AI to generate it? I was disappointed, Peter.
Good question. First of all, I had empathy for a Ron Burgundy impersonator. I thought, what a great way to make a living. So I wanted to.
It is a great way to make a living.
Does he actually make a living being a Ron Burgundy impersonator?
Apparently he does. So
was that from Cameo or?
And I said, "Hey, can you do this thing?" Actually, I used Claude to generate the script, because what I did was I took our event information. I said, rewrite this in the style of Ron Burgundy from Anchorman, and it actually did a pretty good job. And then we kind of iterated a little bit. Yeah, so I thought it was a lot of fun to do it. And he offered to come to the event, by the way, in character.
Yes,
that would have been cool.
Might be a little over the top. But
it's never
it actually turned out he was booked for another tech conference at the same time, which is kind of apparently that's a thing. What? But yes, San Diego, March.
San Diego, he's really in demand. Yes, I love that stuff. Got to pull out the flute out of his sleeve,
That's right, the flute. Yeah, I should have told him.
I know what start I'm going to do for my next presentation. I'm going to put it through Claude and say, rewrite this in the style of Ron Burgundy. And
yes, that gets people going. I love that. So, Mr. Dr. Digital Twin, Bill Pugh, how you doing, man?
I'm all good, man. Look, I hear you guys talking about, the coding and whatnot. You know how I feel about that shit. Literally this week, I fired someone for vibe coding and putting that shit into one of my twins.
Yeah.
Never.
Ooh.
Never.
Oh.
I never. I mean, look, quick scenario. We're doing it for traffic. I'm looking at the code, and I'm like, this is why it's not working. He said, what? I said, there's altitude. You put the schema through Claude and asked it to give you the output, and there's altitude. This is traffic, not air traffic.
Right.
You don't know. Today it's not.
Could be a flying car.
I'm sorry. He was writing that for 15 years from now. My bad. You know what? I should give him his job back.
But I do think that's the problem, Bill. I mean, that's why things like Entire are starting to appear, because if you've got a piece of code that was generated by an AI, what the fuck is in it? I mean, you've got no idea. It could have a nice backdoor to whoever the hell, so you can't. That's the limitation, I think, that is, and that's why little startup gets a 300 million valuation, at seed stage, because I think a lot of enterprises are looking at the potential of AI code generation and realizing at the same time that they can't use it. I mean, how do you defend liability if you've got a code base that created an issue, crashed a car, or if you have a code base that AI was generated, how do you insure your company against that liability? Who's going to take that contract? Who's going to, because you have no literal way of providing any surety or guarantee that the code is functional and fit for purpose.
Yeah,
100%.
And the company has to be responsible, right? You can't blame the AI.
Yes. Not only that, I mean, I'm thinking, I just played out the scenario. I'm like, we put this into production. There's an accident that happens, and it says because the vehicle was this high.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's like, well, wait a minute, where'd that come from? And all the way back to us.
That's right.
I mean, that whole thing of corporate responsibility. I mean, the old argument is always like, well, if a Tesla crashes into someone, whose fault is it? Is it the software developers? Is it the car? Because if it's not the software developers, because the software developer used an AI tool to generate the code, then whose fault is it? If it's the cars, then that means that you are imbuing the car with legal personhood. For a vehicle to be legally liable for something, it is de facto a persona in legal terms, and therefore, does it have rights? Does it have if it has personhood? We haven't differentiated the concept of personhood between people who are humans and things that are not humans. So all of the rules apply. If you're a legal person,
when you sign those contracts, I can guarantee you that company name is liable.
Yeah.
That's right. Exactly. It's true.
But
it's true.
I mean, humans make errors, right? Yeah, humans make errors as well, right? So there's a bunch of code that's been shipped on things that are supposed to be autonomous, that don't behave deterministically and get into a wall, whatever. And you enhance things along the way. There's like some super interesting work happening in genetic AI where you have hybrid architecture where you would actually fall back to a deterministic piece of code to act with the tools that interact with the hardware, and you have like this kind of Rick is arriving. What?
Hey, you're on, bro.
Good timing. No, so humans make errors. Now, if you imagine, well, the actual state is of AI is such that you can't trust today the piece of code that AI has been spitting out, but once you put on processes like we have when we have human coders, where you have testing, where you have reviews, where you have all of that, now you transfer that into an agentic AI world where you have an agent that is specialized in testing another agent's code before pushing that PR out. I mean, that's going to happen. That's happening. That's how these tools are becoming better and better. At some point, we will have AI generating code as good as what humans would have been able to. We will. I mean, at some point, maybe not today, but it will happen. The analogy I like to use to reassure some developers out there is like, hey, did you notice that in airplanes you still have a pilot? Yeah. But 95% of the flight is automated. The 5% left is the pilot wants to have fun, or there is some situation that all the automatic things have never encountered before. And because it's all deterministic, they cannot adapt to it. So you have to have a human. in the loop here. And so, I mean, pilots still needed, but you need one pilot for a big ass airplane. You don't need to have like 10 of them, redundancy, whatnot. And, for coding, that's going to be the same at some point as well.
Olivier.
I don't disagree with that. Yeah. I don't disagree with it will be, it could be. But what I'm saying is that for critical infrastructure today, you've got to be fucking kidding me that you're going to release any bit of code that is going to. This is a vision zero scenario where a vehicle, you're trying to reduce the number of fatalities at an intersection. And the agent that caught the code mishap is me. I'm the agent. So I'm sorry. I'm not for this. You're working for a company. We are contracted to do these things before we release it to production. I'm telling you that here's the schema that's to be used, and you need to generate these outputs. You don't generate those outputs, get the fuck out of my business.
Right, because the companies are, no matter how you doll it up, okay, the company is responsible for what goes in and what comes out. Okay, so it doesn't even, whatever happens in the middle, that's what we're talking about. But your response, just like you said, they weren't, if there was a problem with the code, they weren't going to go back and talk to that coder. They're going to go talk to Bill. They're going to talk to his company, right? That's the issue. That's the problem.
And see, I have a vacation spot in the Dominican Republic that I'm trying to visit. I'm not trying to be in debt paying somebody for the rest of my life because this coder had decided to use Claude instead of do the damn job.
I think Olivier's comment about testing too. Actually, to me, that's the Achilles heel, and I'll tell you why. Is even we've had automated testing for a while, right? A lot of us have been doing that. A lot of companies have been doing that. The problem is, what's the measure of the correct result? Like, if you can't define what the actual success or failure for that test is, which is one thing for very deterministic stuff, 2 + 2 is 4. When you start to get into these kind of vague, fuzzy control scenarios, like again, a card in there, what's the measure of goodness? Then minimizing the number of people you kill? I don't know.
That's
what it is.
That is it right there. What you're saying is it. And like I said, if we have those measures. The code kept failing, and he was like, "No, it's good. It's a bug over here." And I'm like, "No, you got to be kidding me. Give me your code."
Yeah. And in that case, you're right, Bill. That's a human error. Like the guy who was supposed to monitor what that AI agent was doing didn't do his job. So you fired him. Like, good on you. That's the right move because that was a human error.
Yeah. And yes, and because I work for one of those weird analyst firms that makes crazy predictions, here is an apropos prediction from IDC. Up to 20% of these organizations will projected to face lawsuits, regulatory fines, and CIO dismissals by 2030 due to inadequate controls over autonomous AI agents. You're going to get fired, you're going to get sued, and you won't be able to be in the Dominican Republic.
Yeah, you can see that being the case, right? Because ultimately people are lazy and they'll let the AI just spit out the code, won't bother checking it. Olivia, your point about the airplane.
What does that say, Rick?
Okay. Suddenly relevant. Good enough. And it's the Greek philosopher Mediocrities.
There we go. Hang on.
Don't interrupt, Tom.
Yeah. No. All good. It was perfect timing.
Anything that requires accuracy to, we're talking life, death, liberty, stuff like that. I mean, you have to, and I don't like the term human in the loop. I would like to say human in the lead in this type of situation. I think a human should be leading in that situation. So,
yeah. I mean, what does everybody think? There is one, I mean, not wishing to return to the depths of depression that I think we were in a couple of weeks ago. Does the developer then become the equivalent of the dead man switch on a subway train? The fact that there's a human there, with a finger on the button, and if they die, the train stops. I mean, is that what developers' destiny is? If there is such a thing as a developer, in 10 years' time, are we just the dead man switch?
Wow.
Or the
probably. Probably.
I don't believe so, because the dead mind switch is going to be some piece of deterministic real-time code that has been proven to be 100% reliable. That exists, right? We know that. We all know that.
Yeah.
And so that's going to be where these hybrid architecture will be super interesting, where the AI agent that is on a probabilistic, path will hand off to the deterministic piece of code that will, with very simple rules, as you were saying, Rick, kill, no kill. Well, it's no kill. Done. 100% of the time, it's going to be a no kill. There's no conditions. It's not the three laws, of Asimov, where the robot will ask, should I preserve myself and then kill that human because it contradicts that. No, it's going to be deterministic. Don't do that. Done. And the rules will have to be clear, and you will have to have this piece of code that is deterministic at the far end. It doesn't need to be human. It needs to be deterministic. That's the thing, though.
Well, that was the classic. I think MIT actually did a study on that, like polling people. If you were the algorithm, and unfortunately, no kill is not an option in some cases, right? You're going to encounter a situation where it's, do you kill the school kids, they're standing next to the bus, or do you kill the driver? And we all know what the real answer is going to be, which is they're going to switch to manual control and push liability back to the person operating. But what if there's no one in the vehicle? What if it's a teleoperator 6,000 miles away and there's latency to act and all that? Ultimately, a lot of this stuff is going to be determined when the lawyers get involved. When we start seeing, litigation, unfortunately, that's going to put the bounds on what we're allowed to do.
Yeah, and that's when I want to be over there in the DR saying, hey, we didn't have to deal with that. We sold for whatever millions of dollars we did.
Well, the problem with the speed, speed is a great thing. It's not always a problem. But if you look at how quickly things are moving in AI, never mind regulation. Regulation's so far in the rearview mirror, it's not even happening. But the legal framework surrounding things, because the question, Rick, is what does it take for your general counsel to sign off on that piece of deterministic code?
Right.
What change? And that's a change in the law. And with regulators around the world at sea, unable to really understand what's happening, how the hell are they going to write laws that are in any way fit for purpose to allow that general counsel to sign off on it? So you're right. I think it's the limitation on what we can do is not technology. It's legal process, and it's human shit. It's not.
How can an insurer, right? How can an insurer write an insurance policy in this kind of framework? It's difficult. We'll figure it out. It's all kind of moving parts now.
Yeah, that's true. Well, hey, Mark, what's going on in Barcelona, dude?
Yeah, getting ready for Mobile World Congress, and it's raining a lot here. So.
Oh, is it warm?
No, I think it's good. It's raining. No, well, It's okay. Yeah, it's better than I guess U.S. winter.
Yeah,
but no, it's as well testing a lot of cloud code and all of this these days, and it's interesting to see where everything is going.
So you're teaching the world. You're teaching the world about Arduino and Qualcomm and all that fun stuff.
How's Qualcomm going? How's the Qualcomm kind of integration going?
The Qualcomm integration with what? With Edge Impulse?
Yeah.
Edge Impulse, Arduino, everything.
It's going well. Yeah, there is a Arduino as well in the equation, and yeah, it's going well. Now Arduino App Lab, it's getting better and better. So yeah, it's going to be interesting in some weeks. Yeah.
All right.
A lot of interesting things are coming.
That's good. That's good.
I was saying that it would be interesting. I kind of think it would have been cool for Particle to be part of that because of the EI. I think the EI and Qualcomm integration in that stack was so tight, but ancient history. Actually, they were just too, right?
They got acquired by Digi. Zach had been, I think, out. He's been out fundraising quite a lot over the last couple of years, and I think it's a pretty sensible tie-up. I think with Digi, it certainly helps Digi, expand their portfolio of capabilities quite quickly. But yeah, they because obviously I was at Blues and Particle kind of very similar, I would say, though both would say they were very different, but very similar concept. And it's a tricky space to be an independent in.
For sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think it's a complete different target audience, Particle and Arduino. So nothing, it's nothing related, I guess. It's even the technologies can be similar. No, it's a complete target audience. So I think the acquisition by Qualcomm of Arduino, it's because of the target audience of Arduino, basically.
Do you think that Qualcomm, I mean, Arduino Pro has always been a thing very close to my heart, because I think, the promise of being able to take, an Arduino development experience and extend it to an, enterprise audience was like, that'd be great. Do you think that with Qualcomm's ownership, my hope would be that that's going to get a real boost?
The Pro line, you mean?
Yeah.
That's a double.
I don't know. To be honest with you, I don't know, but I am surprised how big is the business coming from the Pro line, to be honest with you. I didn't expect those figures, but I don't know. I think Qualcomm was more interested by the community than the Pro line.
Yeah.
So I think everyone can agree, right? If you want to test a Qualcomm chip, you need to sign multiple NDAs, and maybe the minimum amount of chips that you need to purchase is what? 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 to test it. So I think this is an approach just to say, okay, you want to test it? Sure. Go to the Arduino store. You have it here. If you want then a professional, if you want to get out of the dev kit wall, then we have these and that. And then, let's sign NDAs and so on and so on. I think it's a really interesting. Sorry, go ahead.
I would say, Alistair, my experience was kind of maybe it was not enough data points, but I agree with the opportunity there. I don't know that the pro level was brought to the software, right? The development software, and I think that's an opportunity moving forward, right? More disciplined, more vetted, more curated.
There was a bunch of issues behind me. I'm going to share on this, but it was. I had many a conversation with Fabio and Marcello about how it's different DNA, and so getting a development team to build something that is outside of the bounds of the very community focused kind of DNA of Arduino, I think was really tough. I mean, I think I did some work back in the days when they raised money from Anzu and co to kind of build out Pro, and at the time I was like, well, of course you should invest in it. It's Arduino. Well, why? The community. I mean, it's Arduino. I mean, there's nothing like it. There's nothing like it in terms of an ecosystem of developers. And yes, I get it, Mark. I mean, that was obviously the first and most important reason why Qualcomm looked at Arduino and went, that this makes sense for us.
But in the other hand, if you see the last Linux Pro devices, I haven't tested them, but actually what I learned when I was at Balena, because they were using a Balena competitor, they were using Foundries, and you saw that they were doing they were doing it everything well. So they were doing secure boot, full disk encryption, Docker containers on Linux. I mean, it was not that bad. Then maybe the process can be improved, etc. But it's
the cloud experience. The Pro cloud experience wasn't particularly differentiated from the core experience. And there's arguments to say that it shouldn't be, that you should kind of have the same. You should be able to pick it from a library of capabilities as a developer, and some might be more pro and some might be more. So I mean, I think there was always a bit of a contention about, is this a separate thing, or is this an evolution and an addition, or is this like a separate thing? And we did a lot of work with Arduino around the Opta low price PLC, which I thought was a really, really innovative product. I mean, to be able to connect a device with a PLC, for what was it, €250 as opposed to 5,000 euros for an Allen Bradley PLC. Genius.
There's one big thing too that people seem to be discarding a bit too much is perception, and the perception of Arduino being for makers, to me, is what hurts the Pro line. Pro line, great hardware, software can be improved. Anyways, when you do something as a prototype with Arduino, you just throw away the code after to do an actual product and rebuild everything from scratch. because you don't want the wiring stack, you don't want all of that. It's too heavy. But at the end of the day, the perception is something that, you know, I was talking to Fabio as well a couple of years ago, and I was telling him, you know, ProLine, great, but you called it Arduino Pro versus something else. And so just that, from the perception perspective, is a problem. Maybe not in the long run, because in the long run, you can do the right acquisitions, mergers, or also change the perception, you know, in time, but it's going to take time and it's not going to be overnight. The acquisition by Qualcomm could be what can trigger that, whatever, if Qualcomm heavily invests in advertising the fact that, hey, it's production ready type of shit that you have in the Arduino Pro line coming from a Qualcomm, not coming from the Arduino community. Arduino community is a community, and they might be convinced that it's the best shit on earth, but all the makers are taking shortcuts in their code to make it work. And you don't put that in production. And so the quality of the hardware in the Pro line is, in my opinion, you know, affected by the fact that the good enough perspective of Arduino for community and for makers projects is not going to cut it in production, in business. And that's going to be a big work to be done between a Qualcomm and Arduino and Edge Impulse and Foundries, all of that together to change that perception that Arduino is for makers.
Well, it depends on what you're trying to do. I mean, if you view Arduino this is a tool that teaches people how to work in the embedded space and how to build connected devices, that's one thing. But if you look at Arduino Pro, and I would put Blues in this category and Particle in this category, you know, this isn't a gentle on-ramp into production scale deployment. You know, the challenge is always, and I've seen this many a time, you get to, you know, when you get to X thousand units, right? You get to 5,000 units and the customer says, well, I can use this module. Essentially, that's what they will. I can use this module, or I can go strip 50% out of the BOM cost by designing it from scratch and building my own thing. And back to the liability question: if I built it, you know, from scratch, then I know what the code. I know what's in the bootloader. I know everything.
That doesn't work anymore, I think.
So,
and I don't know if you are talking about Raspberry Pi or Arduino now.
Well, it's the same. I mean, but if your goal is to teach more people how to work in space, that's one thing. If your goal is to try and on-ramp people to a production scale where they use your module in 100 million units deployed, that's a different thing. And
at the end of the day, though, I mean, you know, anyone who's in business to make money is in business to scale. So sending out little kits to make potato clocks in high schools is not a scale business. You know, like you gotta go commercial and go big, and it has to be a platform people can count on. So, and you're right, once you get to big scale, like if you're Chevron and you're putting out 100,000 of these things at every oil well, you're already redesigning that to reduce the BOM by like 50%. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
I told you, you know, it was, again, it's not a lot of data points, but my experience, I had the same enthusiasm about the Opta, for example. And this is maybe emblematic of community-based approaches versus greedy capitalist-based approaches. But in the community world, and I see this with Node-RED, I see this with the Arduino community, you have so many dependencies on critical modules for the Wi-Fi, the TLS module, that are written by who? Anybody, right? As opposed to the vendor of that stack. So they're not vetted, they're not curated, you're not guaranteed to be secure. And my advice to them was take ownership of some of that core software, right? And make sure it's fully vetted, fully reliable, fully bomb-proof. That's what you're going to need, I think, if you want to step up into the pro ranks.
Yeah,
it makes sense.
Well, and this is related with the CRA, right? That it's going to appear in less than 1 year here in Europe, right? Mm-hmm. You will need to have all the security assessments in place, get the software bill of materials public on somewhere on your website, and explain what versions you use, etc. So you need to take ownership of your software as well, not just the hardware.
That's a good point. I did love that Digi was brought up in this conversation, because it takes me back all the way back through the mists of time to the dawn of the Internet of Things. And so imagine there you are in Bellevue, Washington, trying to connect lots of vending machines, and you've got different teams. You have the embedded team, you know, burning EEPROMs to put inside the vending machines with cabling to know when you got a Snickers or a Coke, or put a quarter in. And you've got the PC team, which is substituting for the cloud team. It's like a Windows PC, basically Windows 3.1 with the software. And then you got the wireless team. We had RF engineers, and we're having to build our own wireless modems, right? Because there wasn't a real world yet. Digiboards came into play, and they were an important part of the beginnings of IoT. And why is that? Because back in the day, does anybody remember things like interrupts or IRQs, DMA, all that stuff? Remember auto exec bat and all that crap you had to do? All right. So before the magic of Windows 95,
shit,
we had to do a lot of hard stuff. And so a Windows 3.1 running on DOS PC could not have lots of COM ports, because that's how we communicated back then, was with the little RS-232 COM ports. So Digiboard came to the rescue, because we would go into a city. I remember going into Baltimore, and so this notion of coverage, whatever that means, with cellular didn't exist yet. So imagine Baltimore, and it's like a pie. And we wrote different wireless modems to cover different pieces of the pie to create coverage around the city. And we needed more COM ports to do that, because they were hanging off this Windows 3.1 PC. Our application was written in Visual Basic 3, and it looked like a vending machine and all that. And so Digi was critical to us overcoming a lot of challenges to create that coverage all over the place. And so we had all these modems hanging off of these COM ports. And so much love to Digi. There you go. There's your history lesson from your Uncle Billy Mac.
We used to, in factories, it was the other way around. Those 8 ports to talk to all your PLCs and all the junk. Couldn't have done it otherwise.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That was good stuff. Oh my gosh. Wow. All right. Well, Bill's got to leave. I think
I have to leave as well, guys.
I think we're at the closing time. It's that time. So thanks everybody for joining on this celebratory 300th episode of IoT Coffee Talk. Great to see Rick back. It's been a while. Good to see you, buddy. Great conversation as always. And remember, this whole thing supports Elevate communities. And so send your love to that. And we will see you next week when we're going to talk about all the most important things in tech and sending all that money to all our LPs, because this is where the real VC action happens, right here on IoT Coffee Talk. Adios.
Bye-bye.